Welcome to episode 32, Why Coffee Needs Barriers to Oxygen and Moisture, the invisible enemies of fresh coffee. Thank you for joining again and giving me a few minutes of your time. It is appreciated. And just a reminder to subscribe and share. The coffee community will thank you. In the last episode, we talked about recyclability and sustainability. Today, we're going to talk about something that most consumers never think about, but that determines whether your coffee tastes fresh or stale. The two invisible enemies, oxygen and moisture. Once coffee is roasted, these two factors start working against it immediately, and protecting coffee from oxygen and moisture is one of the most important jobs of packaging. Today, we are going to explore why coffee needs barrier packaging, what oxygen and moisture actually do to coffee, and why capsule systems often protect coffee better than many traditional formats. Roasted coffee is a very fragile product. Roasted coffee is chemically unstable. When green coffee is roasted, several things happen. Sugars caramelize, oils migrate to the surface, and hundreds of aromatic compounds are formed. These compounds are what give coffee its flavor and aroma, but they are also extremely sensitive. Once roasting is finished, degradation begins immediately. The biggest drivers are oxygen and moisture. You may ask, what is the main cause of stale coffee? Oxygen causes oxidation. When oxygen reacts with the oils in roasted coffee, it slowly destroys the compounds responsible for the aroma. This leads to a flat flavor, a loss of aroma, a bitter or cardboard woody-like notes. This is why coffee packaging focuses so heavily on oxygen barriers. The goal is simple: keep oxygen away from the coffee as long as possible. But oxygen isn't the only problem. Moisture is just as important. Roasted coffee naturally contains a small amount of moisture. During roasting, some moisture is driven off, but roasters also carefully control the final moisture content of the beans. In many roasting processes, the coffee is also quenched with water at the end of the roasting to stabilize the roast. That means roasted coffee typically leaves the roaster with a carefully controlled moisture level. If coffee absorbs additional moisture from the environment, several things happen. The aroma compounds degrade faster, the grind structure can change, extraction becomes inconsistent. So packaging must control both oxygen and water vapor. Packaging engineers use two key measurements to describe barrier performance: OTR, the oxygen transmission rate, and WVTR, the water vapor transmission rate. OTR tells us how quickly oxygen can pass through a material. WVTR tells us how quickly moisture can pass through it. For coffee packaging, lower numbers are better. The better the barrier, the longer the coffee remains fresh. This brings me back to why capsules can preserve coffee very well. Capsules actually have an interesting advantage when it comes to freshness. Each capsule contains a single portion of coffee. That means there's no repeated opening, no oxygen entering the pack every time you brew, no exposure to kitchen humidity. Compare that to a bag of ground coffee. Every time the bag is opened, even once it's opened, oxygen enters, moisture enters, and aroma escapes. After a few days, the coffee can degrade significantly. With capsules, each dose remains sealed until the moment of brewing. This portion control can actually help preserve coffee quality very effectively. You may ask, how do we then protect the coffee? The technique used in capsule production is nitrogen flushing. Before the capsule is sealed, nitrogen gas is introduced, even into the grinding. Nitrogen displaces oxygen inside the capsule. Because nitrogen is an inert gas, it does not react with the coffee. This dramatically slows oxidation or even halts it. Combined with a strong barrier material, nitrogen flushing allows capsules to maintain freshness for many months, even years, depending on the capsule material. At Eurocaps, we achieve oxygen content of less than 1% and typically less than 0.5%. That's extreme quality control. This is why packaging materials like aluminum, multi-layer plastics, or high barrier laminates exist. They slow the movement of oxygen and moisture into the capsule. Without these barriers, coffee would lose freshness far more quickly. But there is also a challenge. Many of the best barrier materials are multi-layer structures, which are more difficult to recycle. And that is where the tension arises between packaging performance and environmental goals. So what is the future challenge? The future challenge for coffee packaging is clear. We need materials that provide strong oxygen barriers, strong moisture barriers, long shelf life, but also simpler structures, better recyclability, and a lower environmental impact. Balancing these goals is one of the biggest engineering challenges in the coffee industry today. So next time you brew a capsule of coffee, it may look like a very simple product. But behind that small capsule is a careful balance of chemistry, material science, and packaging engineering, all working to protect one thing, the fresh coffee, and to give you the best possible experience. Because in the end, the biggest enemies of coffee are both invisible, oxygen and moisture. This has been Engineered Coffee. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.